Well, it's very interesting now. About 25 seconds. Now, do the officials know that? No, nothing at all. Yeah. With New Zealand, yeah. Yeah. Who else was there? Do we know? Okay, well that's good enough. Have they got that off PA? Do you know? Has he got that off PA or Excel? How long to on air? Roger. How long to on air? I'll just phone PA and check with them. John, I'll just phone PA for 2 minutes, okay? Yes, it's still Turao, is it not? 2:08. It's all right, we can always cut to them. I can say, you know, that they've got 25 seconds or whatever, and then we can cut to the big bunch. And you tell me you're going, and I'll say there's the bunch. Super breakaway, actually. Really good stuff there. And here we have Eddie Merckx in action and with a breakaway. We saw last time, those of you that were watching World of Sport, Didi Thurau, the West German champion, over there on the far side as we look at them, going on after he won a lap prize of £50, and suddenly he kept on going, and as a result of his attack, the field split and 6 men have come together. And there with Thurau is Eddie Merckx, Sid Barras, Phil Bayton, Keith Lambert and Steve Leake. In the lead at the moment it's Phil Bayton, then Eddie Merckx, and then just behind number 31 is Steve Leake, then Keith Lambert. The back marker is Thurau, number 18 next to the back, Sid Barras, Super Sid, the man that everybody has said would win this race. And since they got away about 3 laps back, they have opened up a gap of about half a minute on 2 chasing riders. Those 2 chasing riders at the moment are Reg Smith from London and Luis Ocaña, who we saw doing a lot of attacking early on. So it's Keith Lambert at the front of the group at the moment. On this nasty little climb that Fred was talking to you about when we saw the map of the circuit, this 1 in 9 gradient, and Sid Barras, a renowned sprinter, but never a man who has just sat there and let everybody else do the work. He's always done his turn at the front. And you'll see how they work rather like a bicycle chain itself. The riders themselves, you've got 1 line going up and 1 line coming back. And the man will move across and leave the pace setting to the man in front there. Thurau's just done that, and he's moving now to the back of the string. There you see how they've done it. We look for them now. Merckx going to the front. Still increasing their lead. We hear now that there's 50 seconds between them and the main pack. Eddie Merckx has moved across to the back. It's Steve Leake, this young 20-year-old from Liverpool, Cheeky Leaky they call him, and he's a first-year professional, and his other nickname is the Liverpool Lip, which gives you some idea that he's always a little bit of a chatterbox. But he's a very good rider too, and that's why he's in this breakaway. And Phil Bayton, the Staffordshire engine, the British professional pursuit champion, comes to the front. Does his turn, moves across. Merckx changes gear as he freewheels round Clary's corner, so called because of British international rider John Clary, who fell off here the very first time that they raced on this circuit about 3 years ago. A circuit, in fact, that was specially built for cycle racing as part of the Lee Valley project. Keith Lambert now at the front. You see that each man in turn will go to the front and do a bit of work. But Barras hasn't done so much. His manager, Barry Brandon, of the Bantel team, was out on the previous lap shouting at him to cool it down and not to work so hard. But it's difficult for Barras to do that because he's a tremendous rider, he's a great competitor, and like Merckx, he always wants to get in amongst the action and keep it stirring all the time. Bayton moves across, leaves it for Leake to set the pace as they come swinging down into the valley, and the news is that the lead is 1 minute. And that lap record that we were talking about earlier of 2 minutes 11 seconds set by Merckx went to Turau, because Turau 2 minutes 8 seconds was his time for the lap. There's Turau, and the middleman of the three we're looking at, Merckx in the lead. And that is a very fine time indeed. Remember, this circuit is 1 mile, and it has that nasty, sharp little climb of Oxo Hill, as they call it round these parts. 2 minutes 8 seconds, so it's just a fraction outside 30 miles an hour. Keith Lambert, former British professional road champion. There was the klaxon for a prime, a lap prize, an intermediate prize in the race, and this intermediate prize is a good one because every 5 laps the riders have £50 on the line, and that klaxon reminded them that it is next time round. And we'll wonder whether or not they can beat the lap record going for this one of 2 minutes 8 seconds, set just a little while ago by Turau. So Baton it is, the Staffordshire engine. There's a good picture of him having a look at Turau coming through as he moves across. Turau quickly over, and Lambert moves across the leak. And still this lovely movement of this breakaway. Working so well together, it's little wonder that they have now pulled out a minute on the main field. No news about the chasers, Reg Smith and Luis Ocaña. They may in fact by now have been reeled in by the main pack. But no problem at all for the leaders. Barras moves across, has a look at the others as they swing down into the valley. Merckx looking quite comfortable, the great Merckx. No difficulty at all. What a wonderful sight it is to see probably the world's greatest rider in action. And of course we shall be seeing him in action in World of Sport later in July in the Tour de France. And Merckx, he may be a millionaire, but he still wants 50 quid, and he's really having a good hammer for this one. 50 metres to the line, and Barras comes up on his shoulder, and Barras gets it. Barras does Eddie Merckx right on the line and sets this 10,000 crowd absolutely screaming with delight. What a superb sprint from Barras, and that gives you an indication of what this man, Super Sid Barras, can do. And Barras, this young man from Middlesbrough, eases up a little bit, lets the others come back to him. He doesn't want to do it all on his own. And Merckx now realises, perhaps for the first time, that there is something a little bit special about Sid Barras, and that it's not going to be all that easy to take victory. And Turau has seen that sprint as well, and Turau attacks on the 1 in 9 climb, wants to go, doesn't want to have anybody for company because he doesn't like the look of Sid Barras' sprint. And look at the way Barras reacts instantly up that climb, out of the saddle and after him as we come back to our mobile camera. And Turau eases a little bit, and Barras, sensing that there was a possibility somebody was going to get away, just sits there watching him, quite happy, the master of the situation at the moment. And Baton eases. They all ease and have a look at each other because they realise now that the possibility of victory is going to be Barras's with the kind of sprinting that we've just seen. Well, in spite of that little bit of freewheeling and easing up, they've stretched the lead to 1 minute 5 seconds. So Merckx leads them through. And perhaps 5 of them wondering what they're going to do about Syd Barras. Well, he's pretty well known to the 4 British riders there in that little breakaway. Merckx sets the pace. Keith Lambert out of the saddle as they come through yet again down the straight. Barras sets the pace, up the climb. This nasty little hairpin climb. Looking happy with it all. Baton takes over at the front. This young man who's also ridden extensively on the continent. A fine amateur rider, Baton. Rode for Great Britain in the Olympic Games in 1972. And finished in 5th place in the Olympic Games road race. Merckx back at the front again. A man who probably would have taken an Olympic medal in 1964 at the age of 19, apart from a crash when he fell with 2 other riders in pouring rain on the circuit at Tokyo, less than a mile from the line. Keith Lambert immediately behind Merckx. Little Steve Leake going through to the front. There he is, Steve Leake, changing the gear, the lever on the down tube of the machine. So all 6 men have been working for the common good, which is to keep clear of the big pack. The simple idea being is that it reduces the number of possibilities in a big sprint finish. So it's a 6-up sprint, and we've got just 6 riders. Merckx has a look over his shoulder at the others. Merckx, of course, they're unknown quantities very much to Merckx, except for Barras, of course, just now with that tremendous sprint of his. The crowd urging them on, sensing perhaps that their own favourites can do a little bit here. And they've crossed the line there, and it's 8 laps to go. 8 laps to go, and over a minute clear, and this little group look as though they're going to be able to stay out in front, and I doubt very much if anybody is going to be able to catch them. But the cheers from the finishing straight show that Ocaña and Reg Smith are still in their pursuit, and they look to be gaining maybe about 20 seconds behind this little leading group of 6. Coming to the front, Dietrich Thurau, the West German champion, breaking away from the field. Wearing number 7, Thurau, clear from Barras, who swings across that corner. Merckx is in 3rd spot as we look at it. Thurau again trying his best to get clear. Doesn't want to leave it to a sprint because of this man behind him, Syd Barras, number 18. And Barras content to sit there and let Thurau do the work. Merckx going on the right of the road. Keith Lambert, wearing number 13, in 2nd spot. And Syd Barras doesn't like the look of things with Merckx in the front, and immediately moves into that position as they come up to complete that lap, and it'll be 7 laps to go. Lambert and Merckx. Barras, Turau, then number 31, Steve Leake, and at the back, number 49, Phil Bayton. We were looking there for a moment to see if we could see the chasers, who seem to be closing the gap a little bit, but not enough. So into the dip goes this breakaway with 7 laps to go. And the crowd urging them on, this enormous crowd. Despite the awful weather conditions and despite the tremendously strong wind, they have produced a tremendously fast pace on this circuit. The crosswind for much of it has been very hard indeed. Merckx having a look, Turau goes again. Look at that tremendous burst of power by Turau. Merckx isn't matching it. Keith Lambert trying desperately to get up there. Behind the cheering and the shouting in the main finishing straight as the bunch begins to straggle and begins to split up under the pressure as they realise and they sense, of course, that they're not in with a chance of victory. So there's the gaps opening up in this little group of 6. And tremendous pictures from our mobile camera mounted on the back of this Goldwing motorcycle. And Turau really is hammering for this one. He wants to get away, he wants to drop everybody, he wants to win on his own. And what are the others doing about it? And they're not letting him go very far. But the others are sitting on Barras from the looks of things. They've said, well, you're the sprinter, you're the one that's going to win, so you've got to fetch him back. There's the klaxon. That klaxon tells Turau that he's got £50 on the line, but I think he's rather more concerned with how much lead he's going to get on this little group. And that's eased a bit. They're looking a little bit shattered with the effort of trying to catch Turau at the moment. And Turau goes away into the dip, and the crowd want a little bit more action as Lambert leads them through. There they go, Keith Lambert. Turau climbs. And see how he does climb, this big man, a big, strong man indeed, over 6 foot, but climbing that hill in remarkably good fashion. Well, Sid Barras has had a lot of work to do before. Is he going to be able to do anything about it now? Through the finishing line goes Luis Ocaña and Reg Smith, still chasing. And suddenly Raymond Pulido has gone off the front of the bunch and is chasing Ocaña and Smith. But this man, is he going to stay out? Inside 6 laps to go. Swinging down towards the valley with half a lap to £50. So this young man, who won 2 gold medals in Montreal in 1974, not in the Olympic Games but in the World Cycling Championships, which were held there 3 years ago. Wearing number 7, Didi Turau, this young West German rider. He's still only 21 years of age. He won a gold medal with the West German team pursuit, and he also won the gold medal individually. So Turau out of the saddle, easily taking that £50 sprint on the line. No problem at all for him there, over the line, and 5 laps to go. So let's have a look and see where the chasers are. Coming up the climb now. And so they've got about 15 seconds to make up. And they're not going to catch Turau unless they make a really concerted effort. And they really have got to work very hard together. There's no question of not working hard because they don't want to have Sid Barras there or anything like that. If they've got any chance at all of winning, then they've got to pull him back. All right, they're going slow now, but They have to go slow to get round that hairpin without falling off. Steve Leake, the back marker there at number 31, and leading them through, Keith Lambert. As I look over his shoulder, let's Phil Bayton set the pace up the climb. 15 seconds is the time gap between these 5 men, now led by Sid Barras on the current leader, Dietrich Thurau of West Germany. So, once more, we look at the chasing group, who still haven't seemed to organise themselves very well. Mind you, I haven't seen Merckx do an awful lot in this group. I think he's leaving it to the 4 British riders here. He said, well, you want to win as much as I do, and the promoter, Mike Barrett, better known perhaps for his promotions in boxing, has offered £500 to a British rider if he can beat the Continentals. Well, there's no doubt at all they're going. There goes Phil Bayton, setting things alight a little bit down through the valley. Merckx brings the rest of them up. And Thurau goes through, and they've got him in their sights down this straight, but still the lead is around about 15 seconds. And Bayton is out of the saddle, and the crowd roaring him on, roaring this group on. They want everything, this crowd today. 4 laps to go, and they really do want to have a go at everything. Thurau, you might have just seen a flash of white as he disappeared down that dip behind those bushes. Barras it is that leads them. So Barras into the dip with that little group, and Thurau we don't see coming out of it, so he may have increased his lead slightly. Keith Lambert in the orange and blue colours of Holdsworth, with Eddie Merckx just behind him. And there is Thurau, alone in the lead. A young man who has promised so much since turning professional and has yet to win a really big classic. He was second in his own Henninger Turm Classic at the beginning of May, but just doesn't seem to be able to pull off that victory. But my goodness, what a strong young man he is, and what a beautiful rider. You see that movement, the classic style. No movement at all from the shoulders or the arms, just the legs, like pistons pumping away at the pedals. And Sid Barras now in the invidious position of using up every little bit of strength in those strong legs of his to try to pull back the chasers, the leader, and not being able to do it. Phil Bayton setting the pace. So Thurau has the fastest lap at 2 minutes 8 seconds, and the klaxon going mad because the crowd have had a collection and put some more money up here. So it looks as though there's another £50 on the line. And the crowd roaring because they're sensing that he's being pulled back a little bit. It's 3 laps to go. And there's Thurau. You can see they're pulling him back. If you remember on the previous lap, he was already out of sight when we had that shot. So they're looking at each other. So Thurau perhaps is beginning to tire a little bit. Maybe he's gone too soon, taken too much out of himself too early, and this little group is going to get them. But still chasing this group and off the front and giving the crowds their money's worth is Raymond Poulidor, Louis Ocaña and Reg Smith. And there's no doubt about it, they are beginning to close that gap. Keith Lambert hammering away now on the climb. Merckx in second spot, Barras third, Baton behind him, and the back marker, young Steve Leake. Lambert gritting his teeth. It's hurting now for all these men. Remember, they've been racing for 2 hours in very hard weather conditions, blustery winds and cold pouring rain for part of the time. Back to our mobile camera, right down there with them. And Baton. And back to Turau. Still away, but losing out a little bit. And I wonder if, in fact, Turau is going to be able to hold them off. It's going to be 2 laps to go when he comes up to the line this time. There's Turau, and there are the chasers coming around the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men still together. So that's the gap. That's what Turau has got to maintain if he's going to win. And he knows that he's only got 2 laps to go. Has a look over his shoulder as they come up. My goodness, they are closing the gap rapidly now. Barras puts in a tremendous burst of speed on the front of this group. Has a look over his shoulder, sees Merckx sitting there. Merckx begins to set the pace a little bit, and they have to ease to take this sharp left-hander down to the dip and the hairpin. 9 seconds is the difference now. They've halved the gap in a matter of 2 laps. And now the crowd sense that there is going to be something really special in this Glenryck Cup. What an afternoon they've had. What a treat of racing for 2 hours. They've braved the weather conditions all around this course, about 10,000 people, and have loved every minute of it. Lambert, Baton and Merckx in that order. Just behind them, of course, is Barras and then Steve Leake. Noticeable that young Leake hasn't done his share at the front for some time, and that means A, that he's tired and hasn't got anything left to offer, or B, that he's being crafty and he's foxing and he's saving his strength for the big sprint and allowing the others to do the work in pulling back Turau. We saw them there at the top of the screen. Here's Turau. And Turau swings into the valley, the back straight of this awkward little circuit. Changes gear. 7 seconds is the lead. We hear from the official timekeeper as he wings his way around the bend, up the ramp as it's called. Turau coming through. They're saying that it's 2 laps to go down there on the track as Turau is gradually caught. Nearer and nearer comes that group. And this vast crowd urging them on. There's Turau, and there they are in the same straight, closing all the time. Barras again doing an enormous amount of work on the front. And there he goes around the corner. Remember, they've got to ease as they swing around that corner. Still Barras, we could just see him there. Here he comes through the hairpin and up the hill, and there it is, closing all the time now, and they sense now that they've got him. They must have got him. And he stamps on the pedals again, young Turau. Has another look over his shoulder. Finds something somewhere to keep those legs going a little bit faster. He's got quite a big gear in there as he climbs the hill. So everything else is forgotten except for these 6 men. The chasers in the second group, the main bunch, they mean nothing now. It's all this man, all or nothing for him. Dietrich Thurau, the West German champion, in his champion's jersey, not wearing his TI Rally jersey that he would normally wear in a race, is entitled to wear the champion's jersey of his country. And Thurau descending now towards the valley and living dangerously, because at any moment he is going to be snaffled up by these 5 men. There they are, swinging around that corner in hot pursuit. And Thurau doesn't look as though he's going to make it. So it's going to be the bell lap for Thurau once he's round the ramp and into the finishing straight. Has another look behind him. There's the 5. So the bell lap, is that going to get him going? Is it going to get the other 5 going? Are they going to get him? What a tremendous finish this is going to work up to be. Thurau it is going through, and the seconds tick on as we wait for this group, but they seem to have lost a little bit of time on him. They've lost a bit of time, and the crowd urging them on there, and Baton comes out of the saddle, and the rest of them. And there's Thurau taking the bend. For the last time, he disappears into the dip and the hairpin for that nasty, awkward, grueling little climb as it's been now. And they're trying so hard, but they just cannot get him. He's still clear. What a finish to this race this is going to be. Barras on the front again. He's worked so hard, this man Barras. Merckx having a look to see if there's anything he can do about it. Merckx looks over his shoulder to see if anybody else is making an attack on the outside, because somebody just might. Barras eases and has a look at them and says, come on, Eddie, do some work. And I think it's a long time since Eddie Merckx has had some real rough Yorkshire words spoken to him. Baton goes to the front, and now look at Merckx winding it up from the back, and there goes Eddie Merckx, and this is what the crowd wanted to see. Merckx in full flight now after Thurau. They've done most of the work, the British riders, and here's Eddie Merckx now beginning to pound away at the pedals. And swinging down the descent now, Thurau has a look over his shoulder, and what have we got? Where's Eddie Merckx? He was hammering, there he is, there's Merckx, and there too the rest of them coming down. That looks like it's not Barras that's chasing him. It looks like young Leek, who I said was foxing before, but Thurau has a look as he comes swinging into the valley. He's just got the ramp to go, and Dietrich Thurau of West Germany and TI Rally is the man who's still away at the moment. And is Eddie Merckx going to get him, or is he going to stay clear and win? He comes swinging around the corner, out of the ramp, into the last 200 metres, and Thurau is clear, and Thurau must be going to win this one. And looking down the finishing straight, we're looking at Eddie Merckx at the moment. We're waiting to see Thurau coming around the corner. He has a look over his shoulder, but he's won this one, no doubt at all about it. The arm raised in victory as he looks over his shoulder, and Barras comes sprinting in for second place from Merckx, and Barras is going to get second place, there's no doubt about that one. Sid Barras second, Eddie Merckx is third, and the rest of this little group of brave men comes in. Keith Lambert gets fourth place, fifth place goes to Phil Baton, and sixth position Steve Leek. And Barras is bitterly disappointed with that one. He let Thurau sneak away and wasn't able to get him in the end. What a tremendous race this has been. Absolutely marvellous racing, and this enormous crowd has thoroughly enjoyed it. There's confirmation of the result. Thurau of West Germany takes it, Sid Barras second, Eddie Merckx third, Keith Lambert fourth in that big sprint finish, but Thurau wins alone by 8 seconds after breaking away with about 5 laps to go. A tremendous sustained effort by this young 21-year-old West German, and a bit of a surprise for everybody after all the action and all the talk of the big sprinters, Eddie Merckx and Sid Barras. Sid Barras, of course, only second, but a great victory, a great day here, and back to you in the World of Sport studio. Yes, can you kill the sound for a moment, because I can't hear you, Scrim. Yep. They are Sumich, Belousov. No. Oh, hell. Well, I'll have to know them if I can't pick them out, as I might not do. Yeah. Yeah, on the rest of them coming in. Uh-huh. I must know the names of those first 5 finishers. Yep, the overall winner in the yellow jersey. Yep. Yeah, that's fine, that's no problem, but I do want the first 5 finishers. So those 3, and I presume we've got a big group finish after.
Welcome back to you. Well, cycling very much the theme at this point in the programme, and I've got some cycling news from the continent for you. The Belgian rider Michel Pelletier looks set to win the Tour of Italy, which ends in Milan tomorrow. Pelletier retained the overall lead by winning today's 21st stage and 18-mile time trial. Meanwhile, a little earlier this afternoon, Britain's most important cycling road race, the Milk Race, ended in Southampton. 66 riders from 10 nations began this event full of hope, with Britain defending not only the team prize, but also the individual crown as well, won for us last year by Bill Nixon. But at the end of yesterday's 11th stage from Cardiff to Swindon, the Russians looked as if they were going to be winning both of those titles. Well, today's final stage took the riders 106 miles from Swindon to Southampton. So let's now take a look at the finish of the Milk Race and get the comments, the reflections of our cycling expert, David Saunders.
So we wait for the finish of this 1977 Milk Race, coming into Southampton for the very first time. And we wonder, a little group of riders, as it's been over the past few days, here they come, the strong Russians, always keeping their check on everything. And the Russians, in fact, holding the overall team lead as well as the overall individual lead with Said Gusainov. Here coming in, past the 200-metre flag, with the New Zealander there, as they've been so often. The Russian in the lead at the moment, Belousov of Russia, but that's going to be victory for New Zealand. It's got to be. That's Roger Sumich getting New Zealand their first ever win. The rest of that little group coming in over the line, very tired, very shattered, including young Mike Williams of the Great Britain B team there at the back of the group. Chaos as ever it was at the end of the Milk Race, but everybody waiting, of course, for the big bunch and the sight of the man in the yellow jersey, this big, strong Russian, the first Russian ever to win the Milk Race. Another little group having clipped off the front of it. We had hoped that the Great Britain A team, who led the team race for a start, here's the main pack sweeping in, would maintain it, but they were unable to do so. A couple of unlucky crashes upset their fortunes, and the Russians have come out easy winners in the end of this 1977 race. Few riders spearheading them in, but it doesn't really matter now because time is not of the essence. The important thing is that Russia have won. Sweden maintained second overall place in the team race, and after a really grueling event this year, it has been tremendous. The last 5 stages, all over 100 miles, and all made so much worse by tremendously strong winds and torrential rain. And the riders, I'm quite sure, are very delighted that it's all over and done with. Tremendous racing, and Russia a real 1-2, if not a 1-2-3. And there he is, Guseynov of the USSR, winner of the 1977 milk race. That really was a great ride by him to take the overall lead late on in the race at Liverpool with a week to go and hang on to it right to the end after 7 days of the yellow jersey.
So that final stage in the milk race won by Roger Sumick of New Zealand, the first New Zealander ever to win a stage in the milk race. Let's take a look now at the final overall individual result. The winner, Said Guseynov of Russia. The Swede Segersol was second. Third was Paul Carbett of Great Britain A-Team, and fourth Bob Downs, also of Great Britain. And don't forget, next Saturday in Sports Special 2, live from Wembley, we shall have coverage of the Schoolboys International football match between England boys and West Germany boys. That should be a great occasion. Well, let's now catch up with the cricket news. And on a day when many cricketers couldn't play because of the weather, 3 Test hopefuls wish they hadn't. The Australians' game at Chelmsford was held up by rain.